Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started on this one. This is what type of hunt do you plan to go on? We're going to talk about the weapon choice, the duration of the hunt, the location of the hunt, and then basically where do you plan to camp and sleep at. So let's go ahead and get started on this. First thing you want to consider is what type of weapon do you want to use. Are you going to use a um, bow? Are you going to use a muzzleloader? Are you going to use a rifle? Basically, the big things to consider here is that an archery hunt is going to be a lot more challenging as far as actually getting close enough to make an ethical shot with a bow. These hunts are a lot easier to draw, but they're a lot more difficult to actually harvest the animal with. Um, you also need to be much more proficient with the weapon. It takes a lot more work to get good with a bow than it does with a rifle or with a muzzleloader. You may get more shots because it is quieter, but there's a lot more to it, and so you definitely want to take that into consideration. The seasons for weapon, for the archery, you will be able to hunt elk when they're in the peak of the rut. Typically, that's the second hunt. You will be able to possibly hunt deer during their rut, which is in January. So you do get some good opportunities at that hunt, but you kind of trade that off for having a more difficult hunt. Next up is a muzzleloader. Muzzleloader is easier to draw than archery, but you only get one shot. So typically you may get two shots, but you're just going to have to be able to reload the weapon quickly. It generally takes about 45 seconds to 60 seconds to be able to reload the weapon and get another shot off. The range is going to be more limited. The weapon is heavier. The hunt season backs right up to the archery season typically, so you will get some opportunities there. Now the next hunt up is a rifle. Easier to draw for youth. There is some good youth opportunities in New Mexico for rifle hunts. You don't have to be super experienced with a rifle to become relatively proficient with it. You definitely should practice before you head out into the field and start trying to shoot at animals. You should at least get to where you can hit a paper plate sized target at about 200 yards and you should be good to go with a rifle. So those are some things to consider when you're looking at weapon choice. The ability to draw, kind of archery easiest, then muzzleloader, and then rifle. A lot more people hunt rifle, a lot more people hunt muzzleloader than archery, and so on and so on. The next thing you want to consider when you're talking about what kind of hunt do you want to go on is the duration of the hunt. Some hunts are longer. The archery hunts are going to be 15 days. Some of those used to be a whole month. The muzzleloader hunts are generally about 5 days, as are the rifle hunts. The other thing to consider is that the time of the year of the hunt. Most of the archery hunts are going to be earlier on in the year, in September, and then again you'll have some deer hunts in January. It gets progressively colder throughout the year, so you got to think, do I want to be out in the cold? So that's something that you definitely want to take into consideration, whether when you're picking what type of hunt do you want to go on, and when you're putting in what time of year is that hunt that I'm actually putting in for. So when you're putting in for it, be sure that you're taking that into consideration so you don't end up miserable, or just know what you're getting into. The location, how far from home is the hunt? Are you going to be able to get out and do scouting trips? How many times you're able to scout is going to directly correlate to how successful you're going to be on your hunt. You're going to be able to get out there and identify where your animals are going to be. You're going to be able to learn the terrain, especially if it's a new unit that you've never hunted before. It's important that you do some scouting, that you learn how it is. The further the unit is from the house, the harder it is going to be to do those scouting trips. Also going to depend on how long do you want to drive. Do you want to drive 4 hours? Do you want to drive 30 minutes? Obviously the hunts closer to the large metropolitan areas are going to be more difficult to draw because more people are going to put in for those because they are closer to their house. So just make sure that you're kind of thinking of that and taking that into consideration if you plan on doing some scouting trips. Are you going to be able to hunt from home versus are you going to have to make this hunting trip a dedicated trip? Some of the longer archery hunts, it might be nice to be able to hunt the unit that you live in because then you can just go out and do a quick morning hunt and a quick afternoon hunt. So that might be something to consider. The rifle hunts is not such a big deal because those are only 5 days long, unless you just want to try and sleep at the house. And depending on what part of the state you live in, that might be something that you're able to do. Next thing to think about is a backpack hunt versus a camper versus a hotel. Personally, I like to backpack hunt a lot, just getting away from everybody else, getting off the beaten path, getting away from the road. Generally, the further you get from the road, the more success you're going to have, the more animals you're going to see, the more opportunities you're going to get. So that's why I like to backpack hunt. You also can get in there and really see some beautiful scenery and get away from the crowds. It's a big part of the reason I like to hunt is to get away from things. And when you're backpack hunting, you're a lot less likely to run into people. That being said, you don't have nearly the amenities that you would in a camp, and you have to pack everything in on your back. So you got to be comfortable with that. Got to be comfortable maybe being a little bit cold at night, maybe not being as comfortable when you're sleeping in tents, that kind of thing. Camper can be more comfortable, but there's going to be more people around. So that's definitely a consideration that you want to make. You will have a different experience. You're going to be able to bring your stove, all this kind of stuff that's going to make the cooking a lot easier. You'll more than likely be warmer at night, be better able to get out of the wind, be more comfortable in general, bring chairs with you, be closer to your vehicle. You may even be able to truck hunt a little bit then, or you can even, just camping out in the vehicle is a lot easier. Then there's the hotel, which I've done a couple times. It's nice. You can go back, take a shower, uh, go hop in the swimming pool in the hot tub, maybe get a couple drinks, go get at a restaurant. Maybe if you're not trying to do such a hardcore hunt, then that might be an option. So think about that kind of thing when you're considering what kind of hunts do you want to put in for. You want to figure out where am I going to be sleeping at, because it is important and it's going to definitely contribute to the hunting experience that you're going to have. And so it's something that you want to think about. So that's about all we've got as far as that's concerned. So hope you guys have a great evening.